All right. Well, this is the word. Hello, everyone. Welcome.
I
Welcome
thought bird
to,
was the word.
yes, welcome to a very special edition of Duncan and Bo Come Correct, in which I get, we didn't really settle on a name for this, did we? Like
Um,
Duncan and Bo and Duran Duran? Or Duncan and Bo versus Duran Duran? Are we
oh,
that confrontational?
I have no idea. I'm just trying to think of something witty and punny to segue the word "damn" in there. You know what I mean? Duran Jurdam.
Duran Duran Duran, James. That's from Good Times. Duncan, all right, so whatever we're calling this, basically this is our palate cleanser between seasons of Slasher, which
Yes.
we decided, hey, before we jump into a season two, let's do a little treat yourself
Yeah.
and actually like just goof off for an episode. Not
You
that we
mentioned slasher there, and I suddenly got Nam like flashbacks.
ah!
I, literally, I listened back for the first time, and I don't know how long. I listened back to the episode of Duncan and Bo Come Correct in that last one because I remembered having a lot of fun recording it. So I
Yeah.
listened to it back, and we're just silly on that one, like really, 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 really silly. I think we even caveat at the beginning by saying this is going to be a silly one, but I did almost choke on my coffee during work hours when we covered the old stab in the arm bellow scream. Ah!
Yeah. I've laughed
Amazing.
about that quite a bit, as a matter of fact, me personally.
Yes.
Um,
Oh,
it's
was it
very
worth the
funny.
journey for that? No.
Yeah. So here's what we're gonna do for this episode: is Duncan and I, as it happens, are both Duran Duran fans.
Who'd have thought?
Who knew? And so we're going to do a track by track review of the first Duran Duran album. We are doing the U.S. release, Duncan.
Oh,
All right,
shit.
and there's a slight difference between the UK and the US release. Do you know what the difference is?
Let me guess. The American one comes with fireworks, automatic weapons. Do you get a gun when you buy it?
I
Is that
get it,
the
Duncan.
deal? You get given a firearm without a background check when you buy this album.
No, don't be stupid. Um, you don't have to buy a record to get a gun in this country. You just have to
Don't
be
be
born.
silly.
They give you
Born.
one. It's like they slap you on the butt. You start crying, and then they
Give me
give you
a
a
gun.
gun.
Yep.
And no, the difference is the inclusion of the song. Is there something I should know?
Oh,
Which does not
really?
exist on the original UK version, but they recorded it in between the UK and the US release. It became the first US hit. And so we are going to go with that release because it's the one I know and
Mhm.
I got to make the rules. Plus, I really wanted to talk about is there something I should do? Because I think in the grand scheme of the Duran Duran first record, kind of a banger.
Yep, I will. I will go with the historically inaccurate version, keeping on my theme of partaking in historically inaccurate things. Still watching that Vikings program. Woo! Yeah, we're just rewriting history, episode by
I'll
episode.
tell you. Speaking of other stuff, we're not doing the official what we've been watching, Duncan. But
Hmm.
I have here in my hot little hands the Arrow One Missed Call trilogy that I will be breaking open tonight.
Oh, you son of a bitch! I don't
Yeah,
know if you know this, but on the podcast Under the Stairs, I've just announced a Russian roulette franchise retrospective on said series that you may want to cast your name in.
I will. This is actually the next series for Hero Hero Go Show. So we are rivals, Duncan.
Oh, well, listen, I am just a lowly man who does the occasional funny review. I can't go up against the juggernaut that is the Asian horror
Man,
cinema behemoth of Hero Hero Ghost Show.
let me tell you a little
Not fair.
Hero Hero
Not fair.
Go Show story real quick. So we dropped the tag episode,
Yes, you did.
and which I'm a big fan. Sion Sono's wonderful director. It's a great movie. It's a challenging movie.
Hmm.
And so I dropped the episode, and I'm an admin for an Asian horror movie Facebook group. So I drop it in there because it seems of interest to those people, right? Oh, look at you. Look at you.
See, well, I thought we were just boasting about what we owned, so there you go.
All right, well, let me see if I can one up your copy of Tag. So within the Facebook group that is Asian horror movie specific, I post. Oh, that's pretty. That's the hip hop musical that Sion Sono did right before Tag.
Literally have never seen it.
It's not great.
No.
I like Sion Sono a lot, but like Shinjuku Swan he did that year is not great. Tokyo Tribe is okay. Tokyo Tribe, it's a hip hop musical based on a manga, and it feels like one of those movies that Miike does every now and again.
Yeah, one of those Miike needs a new leather jacket and leather trousers to match.
Right, like Miike can't stop directing or he'll die, as we've often.
He's like a shark, always swimming. Can't stop.
Yeah, and Sono in 2015 in particular, I think he released 5 movies that year in 2015. So, you know,
Nick caged it. Is that what you're telling me?
He always, but that's the thing with these Japanese directors. You've got like a Sono and a Miike. They just work all the goddamn time.
Yeah,
and like 30% of everything they do is genius.
Yes.
But because and like 70% maybe ain't, but because they're making so much stuff, that still means they're making like a masterpiece a year.
Yeah, there's still one a year. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, but so I dropped the notice that, you know, the Tag episode has come out, and within the episode I point out that all the special effects that were done in the film Tag are done by Yoshihiro Nishimura, director of Tokyo Gore Police and a number of other films. So Duncan, who should drop by to say hello but Yoshihiro Nishimura himself, dropping through a comment on the post that was like, oh yeah, when we did this shot we just it was the shot of Mitsuko in the bus after they've been sheared, you know. And he was like, oh yeah, we just threw a bunch of blood around in the bus and then lined the corpses up for that shot, which was like, of course you did. There was nothing tricky about that. But I was so fucking excited that Yoshihiro Nishimura was like, oh yeah, that shot. Here's how we did that. It's like, I of course you did it that way, but also you're Yoshihiro Nishimura. And
I literally did not think I was going that way. What I thought you were going to say was when he left you a comment, I thought you were going to say that you'd Mr. Tajimura up from Twin Peaks, donned the old outfit, rocked out the old Piper Laurie fake Asian accent, and left yourself your own little comment.
No.
I'm very glad that you didn't do that, because you know, this is 2021 and we frown upon that. But no, it did seem like genuinely a nice guy, and there's no greater, I think, appreciation of the work you do as a podcaster when the people that are involved with the project either listen to said thing or comment on said thing, even if it's a like. It's pretty cool. So, well done you.
Right. It was such a, and you're right. It's one of those things where like somebody that you kind of admire, you know, you bump up against, and I'm genuinely a fan of him. Like you said, he just seems like a nice guy. Yeah, he's crazy, but you know, in all the right ways. You
kind of have to be that level of artist, though. You kind of have to have a little screw loose.
So here's my secret hope, Duncan, is that Yoshihiro Nishimura saw this and then sent it to Sion Sono. Because he was like, hey, they talked about your movie is kind of what I'm hoping, which means that my voice could be in Sion Sono's head.
You're aware he's going to have a movie with a character that sounds like you.
I know.
I don't know what he's going to do to him, but if I was you, I'd be worried.
I can't wait. Right, like it's going to be the trilogy. It'll be like Suicide Club, Noriko's Dinner Table, and then here's the other joke that I had with one Richard Glenn bit is that I hope that I get to be close enough friends with Yoshihiro Nishimura that I can be in the next Tomie movie, because he directed the last one. And
what was that? Was that like number 47 or something? How many of those are there now?
8-ish.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Tomie Unlimited, one of the more Junji Ito-ish Tomie films, quite frankly. But also because it's Nishimura, it's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And bloody and weird, and they're Tomie centipedes and all kinds of stuff. But then we could rename it Bomie.
You're aware I'm going to boo you right now.
Okay, so here's what we're gonna do, folks, for today's show. Enough silliness. Let's get to the real shit.
We're listening to the first Duran Duran album, and there's a whole lot of filler on this. So.
All right, we'll get to it. But so look, because of copyrights and all that stuff, the way we're gonna do it is we're gonna start the song. Duncan and I are gonna listen to it in real time. And then come back and render judgment. And all of the filler will be edited out of us listening to the song, unless you happen to be a Patreon member on legionpodcast.com, because we don't have to live by the same copyright rules. So you can get the raw shit, the uncut, unstomped on us listening to the song in real time if you want on the Patreon. But you don't have to. We're not going to be doing. Well, I don't know. I don't know how much talking we're going to be doing.
If it's uncut and you're not editing, you're going to hear my wild opinions on the Scots.
Oh my god!
You know what this? Yeah, every episode you have to cut out a massive racial rant against my fellow countrymen.
Yeah.
So.
Do not like the Scots, he says. And I'm like, why? Why are you so angry? And why is your accent so bad?
Yeah, well, why is my accent so bad? Then how do you understand it right now?
Yeah. All right. Enough shit. So, let us begin, and Duncan will count down on to kind of sync up on our side of things. So, beginning with track number 1 of the album Duran Duran, released in the United States in 1983, although 1981 is when it hit the UK. Let us begin with Girls on Film, starting in 3, 2, 1, go. Ooh. And the classic fade out. All right.
It's good. It's good.
Okay, so there we go. That is track 1 of Duran Duran, Girls on Film. One of the bigger Duran Duran hits, everybody kind of loves Girls on Film. To repeat the larger points that we made as we listened to the song, the chorus, Duncan described as a basic bitch of a chorus.
It is like what you get with Girls on Film is a lot of really clever techniques musically. So you've got really funky bass, you've got some almost kind of minimalist guitar work, which is really, really cool. You've got Simon Le Bon being really playful with the way he sings, at times on the beat and staccato. It's really energetic, it's bouncy. Then you come to a chorus and it's just like Girls on Film. Girls on Film.
Right.
You know what I mean? Everything just it's usually what bands would do the other way. So generally what you would have is a verse, which is and then when the chorus kicks in, it gets really busy and vibrant and bouncy. The thing is, it's the same words sung over and over again. So as a result, once you're finished listening to it, what do you remember from that song? Girls on Film, simple melody, simple lyrics, Bob's your uncle, Jean's your aunt. And yeah, that's you.
Yeah. All right. So a couple of fun notes about this.
Yes.
Maybe best known for the video, which was originally the video was made before MTV existed. And it was made to show in clubs. And so they did this whole video featuring all these models on a catwalk that also featured like some BDSM shit, and like it got kind of risque. And then they had to recut it for MTV when MTV launched, but it was still extremely trashy. It became a big MTV hit. It was one of the first MTV hits.
This is the irony is now if you switch on MTV, I'm fairly sure you can see a butthole being fingered. So I mean, like at this stage now,
is that a reality show?
Most likely,
real ass.
The real ass of OC.
This is a story of 7 bungholes that stopped getting wiped, started getting real. I'm sorry, you were saying.
Literally, but that's like it's so strange that like MTV is now the purveyor of trash, and not music. And back then, having an element which a lot of people may seem as being risky, but in terms of what the British music scene was doing in pop circles, that's people were dressing in lycra, people were dressing in spandex, people were wearing makeup, men and women, and clubs had that side of being part discotheque, part fetish. So all they were doing is bringing what they were experiencing in the club environment to a video. And I love this idea of MTV going, no,
right,
no, like that. It's a clever, once again, it's clever, it's talking point. And you are right, this movie, this music video essentially is the thing that catapults them to like international success, because like people like MTV at the right time. You can argue a lot of the kind of bands from this time period, their success is predicated on MTV. Like them, like I don't know how big Duran Duran would be in a country like America without an MTV behind them pushing out those videos and whatnot, because it was a very uniquely British sound. This is kind of the birth of almost the New Romantics, and Duran Duran are at the start of it. And that was a very British thing. You know what I mean? That isn't how the Americans were doing pop songs. You know what I mean? That's how the British were doing pop songs. So yeah, I mean, it's a great song. I am 100% with you. It has a flat chorus, but it's got a memorable chorus. It's memorable and flat.
But every verse is great.
Yes.
And it worth noting that the song is sort of Simon Le Bon writing about, and all of these songs are written by Duran Duran. And this is about the fact that, as it happened, Duran Duran dated a lot of fucking models. And
did you see them back then?
I mean, they're beautiful men.
Yes.
I mean, if I were a model, I would date them.
Yes,
and
if I was around at that time, I would have got breast implants and posed as a model to date them.
Right. Simon Le Bon, I would have made a Bon line for. Yeah, that was a good looking guy back in the day. I was thinking about that earlier today, that like at the time of A View to a Kill, was kind of the height of Duran Duran when they ruled the world. And that's 40 years ago now. And I just haven't seen Duran Duran in a while. Yep. And I know they're out touring and making music, and God bless them. I'm glad they are, and I have nothing but affection for them. But I'm like, I kind of don't want to see old Simon Le Bon.
The weird thing about it is for his age, he's wearing surprisingly well for someone that hasn't had plastic surgery. Like, really? Yeah.
That's what I was afraid of, is he would mess it all up with the jobs.
No. He didn't go that way. He didn't do the old. Was it Pete Townsend? It's not Pete Townsend. It's Pete Townsend from Dead or Alive. You spin me right round. Yeah. You see that guy's face.
Is his name Pete Townsend, like the guy from The Who?
Well, it's Pete something. I don't know. We'll fact check it in the next song.
All right, Pete.
But whoever that did is I think he's dead now, actually. He may have died in a plastic surgery accident. And that's not even a joke. His face it made Mickey Rourke's facial reconstruction look good.
Yeah. Oh, that's a mess. Oh, that's a shame.
Yep.
All right. Well, speaking of new romantics, Duncan.
Speaking of a shame, no, this next song's great. So.
Let's get to the second track, which is Planet Earth. Actually mentions the New Romantics in the lyrics.
Setting.
Yeah. So let us begin Planet Earth on the count of 3. 3, 2, 1, play. Yeah.
We're getting the synth right from the start. They're like, you know what? You got a taste on the last one. Here we go. Once again, disco beats. Who saw Queen play what would be the equivalent of a small town hall in Scotland before they were big. That was his claim to fame. Said within 2 years they were selling out Wembley.
Of course they were. Speaking of Highlander.
No. Here we are.
I am immortal.
You are.
Sorry. I'm not really, just for the record.
Lies.
You lie, sir. Okay, so Planet Earth, second track on the album. As we were saying during the song, a real, like an up and atom kind of song, like our go getter.
Yeah. You've been dragged on the dance floor if you weren't inclined on the first song. This one is get up, dance. We mentioned specifically the drums it's like constant motion. It's keeping you going, and then that bass line, which is just the tits, man.
When you hit the bass solo and then it takes off, it just starts soaring, and you're like, oh shit, things got real, y'all.
Simon Le Bon. This time you get a chorus, which
great chorus.
Because he's holding a note out of the verse and then he raises it up into the chorus, which it's uplifting. It's a good use of that. And the key factor, different from the previous song, the verse this time predominantly driven by the synths. So the synths are actually playing the melody, which Simon Le Bon is kind of carrying through as well, which completely different to the previous song, which had no synths in the verse. Like, ain't no sense in my verse.
So the video for this song was directed by Russell Mulcahy, of course, of Highlander fame.
Yes.
And he would go on to direct all of the big videos like Wild Boys and Union of the Snake and all that stuff. And so this is kind of where his association with Duran Duran started. And when at some point we will talk about Seven and the Ragged Tiger, and there is no question we will talk about the videos in probably more detail, but this is that kind of like, hey, it's Russell Mulcahy showing our boys out on an adventure, and then just cutting with images of them in concert, and that's totally the formula for every Duran Duran video moving forward. Which is
that's all you need. That's all you need. That's like look at them. Look how pretty they are on safari. Look how pretty they are on the Nile. Look how pretty they are skyscraper diving. You know, like all this sort of stuff. And then they're on stage. Look how everyone loves them. That's all you need. That is all you need. All this nonsense we get nowadays, where like cars that move on hydraulics and gangster. Like, we don't need that. Just have them out like, on an archaeological dig for no reason at all, hunting for treasure that no one explains, that they never find, and them playing on stage. And that's a music video, Bo. That's how you do it.
Why aren't more lead singers just strapped to windmills where they're dipped into water occasionally? That's what I want to know.
It's a question I don't think we will find an answer to in our lifetime. And you're immortal, Bo, so you're here forever. So,
where did you hear that? So track number 3, Duncan.
Yes.
Is a little ditty called "Anyone Out There," and even before we get into it, I'm gonna say another banger for the bass. So.
Yeah, it helps when your bass player is kind of awesome. It really, really does. And he really is. A lot of the new romantic bands don't have funk bass, which is an interest. Like out with like a predominant. Once again, I mentioned them during the video. Like Level 42 is maybe the key example of that, but that's because Mark King is a funk bass player. A lot of those bands tend to be a bit beige with the bass, but Duran Duran is always front and center. And that's a smart move. That's like a very, very, very smart move. It's where most of the hooks in the music come from. So, anyone out there, is a change of pace, ladies and gents.
Yep, and I will spoil this ahead of time. As you're listening to this song, folks, pay special attention to the bass line at the end, because it is a very direct reference to Ashes by David Bowie. All right, so here we go on the count of 3. Anyone out there? Track number 3 on Duran Duran. 3, 2, 1, and play. Ashes, great song. Also, not anyone out there. So that anyone out there is it ain't a song that's gonna grab you by the collar and wake you up, but I really like Anyone Out There.
Weirdly enough, for a pop song, it's a musician's pop song. So like the instrument playing is a little bit more interesting on it. That doesn't necessarily lend to the most memorable. So Simon Le Bon is the least memorable person on that track. You know what I mean? He's essentially there just adding some melody over. Most of it's just copying kind of what the synth's doing, which is once again not all that interesting. It's the guitar work, the bass work, and the drum work on the track that are really the interesting element. So if you're a musician in a band, from that point of view, that's where your attention is going to be drawn. And it doesn't always necessarily, I think you made a really good point earlier on. I think when we see pop bands nowadays, people just think, you know, it's just people singing. And that's what boy bands are now. But boy bands in the 80s wrote all their own music, recorded all their own music, and played all their own instruments. So they were bands, essentially, but they had the appeal of being able to play popular music in a fashion that brought over. So it's very much it's a different, when we mention pop from this time period, it's a completely different entity from what pop would be like in the 90s, essentially, because the 90s is the backlash. Boy bands are no longer playing their instruments, and music's been written by them by producers, and they're out there, you know, just singing. But this is the kind of last bastion, the kind of hangover between the 80s, but the 70s bands, which were like proper bands, and you know, the 90s, which are mostly just singing against backing tracks. So you're still getting, and that's why I love the 80s. I know a lot of people will take pot shots at for a lot of the music out, because some of it is utter rubbish. But like the musicianship is always of a really, really, really good level. Like all the experimentation with synths, this, like the layers, like you don't have to listen to like a band like Tears for Fears, for example, and Sowing the Seeds of Love. That album took 5 years. I think it's 5 years to record, and it was mostly because the main guy made it take 5 years. It was at the time the most expensive album ever written, and it was him in a room with a synthesizer. And it was still one of the most expensive albums ever written. He had like 1 million synth sims. Duran Duran only have one on this song.
I like that record a lot, but the line, if you want to read, then there are books to read, or check out a books, there are books to read. It's in the title song. Mm-hmm. It's a great song, but that line is fucking stupid.
It's lazy.
Yeah. and somebody should have like grabbed, I can't even think of the lead singer's name.
He was crazy by then. He lost his mind making that album. And I think
it was like a Brian, what's his name from the Beach Boys, Brian Wilson. It was that kind of thing where like he just went into a room and started creating and got lost in his own head.
Yeah,
and like there's good like Songs from the Big Chair is fucking great.
Yes,
and but then Sowing the Seeds of Love is like super interesting, and there's great stuff on it, and there's great stuff about a lot of that music. But yeah, it went hard up its own ass.
That's what there's a certain level though where unchecked. I've always said, like, a lot of people like, well, music producers aren't they just like they get paid a lot of money and they're just sitting there making it? I'm not. Like, music producers are essentially composers. Like, and like it's an art. Like, bands come in with flabby written songs. It's the equivalent of an editor in movie terms. What you need is a good editor to edit your movie, because if you don't, there's like scenes that go on too long, shots that don't go anywhere. They lose the interest. It's the same. Like, a good producer will sit with a band and say, no, the chorus needs to come in again towards the end. We need to tighten up this section. The greatest example I always come back to is Rick Rubin, who is a fascinating man, but there's a great documentary called, I think it's called The Funky Monks, which is Rick Rubin sitting with the Red Hot Chili Peppers making Blood, Sex, Sugar, Magic. And it's the song Give It Away. And you know, it's that bass like, bow, ba-dow-dow, bow, 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 but you hear what Flea plays originally, and it is it's like bow, ba-dow-dow, 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 bow, ba-da-dow, da-da-dow, and Rick's like that. No. Bow, ba-dow-dow, bow, 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 but strip it back. And Flea, who's an incredible bass player, his instinct is just to make it as funky and all the rest. And Rick Rubin's going, no, like, strip that out. Come in, we'll get some in later on. You can play little accents on the ends of the bars, but just strip it all out. And then you listen to the final thing. Rick Rubin's right. Like, if that bass is too busy, half the song doesn't work. So that's what good record producers are there to do. They're there to help you craft the song with an ear for what will work. Because they hear the whole picture, the band hears, well, this bass line's really cool and I really like it. But they don't hear the whole song, if you know what I mean. They're too stuck in their instrument. So
I'm so glad you brought that up. Not this next song, but the song after. We are going to talk about the producer for Duran Duran.
Oh, yes.
All right, so the next thing we've got coming up, though, but anyone out there, great song. Again, not the one that you're going to remember from this record necessarily. Terrific song, though. Really good. The next one up is a song called Careless Memories. No, not the Wham song. That's Careless Whispers. Careless Memories.
One instrument I wish I'd learned to play as a kid. It was the instrument that always fascinated me. And it's not because of the Lost Boys. What's up with that, Bo?
Is it just because of every porn ever?
Well, no, like my favorite, like here we're going deep cut here. Like my favorite sounding instrument of all the instruments that exist is a clarinet. I love the sound of a clarinet. And if you can play a clarinet, you can play a saxophone because they both are essentially they're both reed-based instruments.
Oh yeah, and you're playing the neck. Yeah. Okay.
It's the exact same. Like in terms of how the notes are played and all that, the intonation and all the rest is exactly the same. So. Like, I was like that. If I ever learned the clarinet, I would obviously transition to the sax because it's sexy.
Yeah, and honestly,
clarinet is for getting married. Saxophone is for getting down and dirty, Bo.
Yeah, obviously, this is neither the place nor the time to talk about Wham, but Careless Whispers is one of those songs that's just up there with like this is one of the great pop songs of all time.
It's also almost a song that when we talk about the DBCC mantra of you should be fucking, Careless Whisper should be playing in the background, right?
Yeah. I mean, Guilty Feet have got no rhythm, Duncan, but they can fuck. Time can never mend. Anyway,
in a minute here, right? Like,
all right, no. So let's get to Careless Memories, which, by the way, is again slight spoilers. My sleeper for the record is Careless Memories. This song is way better than I ever gave it credit for before. But after listening to the record intensely and like purposefully a few times recently, Careless Memories is my sleeper favorite. So let's begin Careless Memories on the count of three. I always do this differently every time, so sorry, everybody. 3, 2, 1, play. Yeah. Oh, somebody's at the door, Duncan.
Guitar lick. Yeah, it's bitching.
It's kind of the rocker of the album.
Yeah, it's definitely more rock.
Yeah, so Careless Memories, there's not a ton, historically to say about this song. Like, it's not particularly unique in the Duran Duran catalog or even on this record or anything. It just kind of does the job of rocking. It's like, hey, the rest of this album's been real poppy and, kind of happy and, got some good hooks and that kind of thing, and Careless Memories comes along. It's just like Careless Memories. And you're like, God damn it! All right.
He's a wee bit. The thing about him is he is like you were right. You were like that. He sounds pretty angry, and then he's like coming from my eyes.
Yeah, I'm screaming from my eyes, Duncan.
I scream from my eyes, Bo.
But it's got great guitar. It's got a great drum beat. The bass, of course, is great. And it's Simon Le Bon getting pissed, and you don't get that a lot. Like we got to wait till the next record, Duncan, before he's good and angry again when he gets mad about people being wild boys.
Well, I mean, come on, Bo. Wild boys.
Wild boys! Wild boys! We'll get there. We'll fucking get there. Don't you worry, ladies and gentlemen.
I think, you know what, ladies and gents, I think we're going to get there.
But any thoughts on Careless Memories? This is, like I said, this is the one of the sleepers on the record as far as just being a terrific song for me.
I mean, what I like about it specifically is, it's just a much more experimental sounding track. I think you're right. Even the guitar sounds a bit harsher. The guitar's using some weird effects. The synth is just going crazy. It's just having some old fun. It's like, we've got 5 buttons now. Watch us play them. And even at the end, everything's just getting a moment, kind of that way where if you go and see a rock band and at the end the drummer's like, drum fill, and the guitar's just playing, everyone's just going a bit crazy, and then it all comes into the end. It's kind of like that towards the end. It's like the new romantic pop version of a kind of band fill towards the end, but all works. Tone for the vocalist is mid-range, not high range, but I think it allows him a bit more expression in what he's singing. Yeah, I mean, it's a really interesting song, and we're getting into the album now, so we need to mix things up. So this is us taking us in a different direction. Don't worry, there's plenty of those Duran Duran pop hits coming back, but at the moment we're feeling out the crowd. We're feeling out the crowd, bro. That's what we're doing here.
Yeah. Anybody here like to rock? Oh, it seems a couple of people in the crowd like to rock a little bit, Duncan.
The thing as well, like back then, you've got to remember, it's like music isn't the way it is now, where you're like, oh, I like hip hop, so I listen to hip hop.
Yeah.
Like back then, the lines between punk and pop and, you know, experimental kind of beginnings of kind of synth music and all that, all these lines are very tenuous, and all recording artists dabble. Bowie's a great example. Bowie goes from, like, on almost in every album, it's a different version of Bowie. It's still David Bowie, but on this album, we've got synths. Next album, they might not be there, and then it's a lot more rocky with guitars. Then the album after that, hello, Mr. Funky, you at the front door again. You know, it's like we go all over the place. So those lines are a bit, and people followed bands like through that kind of, like, they followed bands through their pop phase, they followed them through their avant-garde phase, like you were just in. So you would have a really good mix of people that would go and see bands. So having a song which is a bit more rocky, you're not losing people. Like, no one's going to get a drink during that song. That's you've got them in. They're there to see you. It picks up the energy. Yeah, that's what it says in the tin, Bo. That's what it says in the tin.
Speaking of picking up the energy, let's move to the next song on the record, the one included in the U.S. release.
Oh, right. Well, you need to give me a second till I find this, because it's not on my British release book.
See?
Yeah.
They fucked you guys. They fucked you in Britain.
You got the album 2 years late, and all they gave you was a song.
Yeah, so. Right. But that's how they fuck you, Duncan.
They fuck you. They fuck you. They fuck you.
They fuck you at the record store.
Right. Go and give me the exact wording of this song again. So
is there something I should know?
Is there? Yeah, I've got something I should know, and that's why it's not something. This is riveting for the listeners, but this is because you went with the nasty American version.
Hey, look, this is what you get in between slasher seasons.
This is what you get, you filthy Scottish bastard.
Right,
I am ready to go.
All right, on the count of 3. 3, 2, 1. Make song go now.
Please,
oh, god damn, this song is good.
That's a spicy meatball.
Oh, that's a spicy meatball. All right. So that's obviously, is there something I should know? This is more like the video was Russell McKay again. But as we talked about during the song, it's got a richer guitar sound. This feels like, when you think of a Duran Duran song, is there something I should know? Feels like modern Duran Duran or
it
modern
feels like money. It feels like money. You listen
Yeah.
to it, it sounds like it sounds rich. It sounds full. It's got every essence of it is designed to be a pop song. You know what I mean? It's just really, really, really well written. They're not compromising anything. It's just that there's no gap. There's no space. There's no bit where it's only like drums and, you know, like a minimalist guitar and some bass. Now we've got synths backing up the full thing. The guitar's playing the melody. Just the whole song is constructed just better. Like their songwriting is just better there, and as a result, and it's a great transitional song because really after the 81 debut, they will sound like an international band.
Yeah.
Just now they still sound like a British band. They're about to become like universally
the biggest band in the world. So Phil, the producer's name for this song is Phil Thornalley.
Mm-hmm.
And he had just worked before this with The Cure.
All right.
And I can't remember. It wasn't Fascination Street. It was before that. I can't remember what the record was. But anyway, so he had worked with The Cure, heard the UK release for Duran Duran, the 81 release, and was like, these guys are really good, but you know what would make them better? Me. And so... And so he not only produced Is There Something I Should Know, he produced every track on Seven and the Ragged Tiger.
Yeah.
Which, when you hear Is There Something I Should Know, you're like, why isn't this song on Seven and the Ragged Tiger? And it's because Phil Thornalley just, like, as they were making their U.S. release, he was like, hey, that song that you got, let me put a little English on it. And... the rest, as they say, is history. But is there something I should know? Like, as far as the American release goes, it's the banger. It is the best song on the record by far.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's one of the best Duran Duran songs. Mm-hmm. It's really, really good.
Yeah. Everything you're saying is on the money. It's the almost the quintessential Duran Duran song. It has almost every element you hear in every song by them after that point.
Absolutely. So, speaking of songs after that, let's get back to raw-ass Duran Duran. And a song...
Back in time now, Bo.
Yeah, let's go back a couple of years to The Nightboat.
Yep.
And let us begin that on the count of 3. 3, 2, 1, Nightboat.
The Nightboat
soon we'll be making another run. I'll tell you what, if I saw Duran Duran live, as soon as they started The Nightboat, like, I'm going to my car and getting out early.
Yeah. They would never close with this song.
It's their encore.
Can you imagine like screaming on them to come back on stage for like 15 minutes and they finally come out and they're like, we love you, Tennessee.
Yeah.
And this song's for you. This one is called The Nightboat.
Like, yeah, they like, you come undone for the first encore.
Yeah.
And then, yeah. All right. One more for Tennessee.
Yeah.
Nightboat.
The thing is, as well, they're being particularly bitchy that night. Beauty of Kill hasn't been played and everyone thinks that's what they're getting. And you get Nightboat instead.
They give you the 1-2 of Nightboat and Tel Aviv. We'll get there. So the Nightboat is
fun. It's quirky. It's got personality.
Absolutely. It is a song Simon Le Bon wrote when he was waiting for a bus at night. And it was just kind of a creepy environment, and he wrote this song about the experience, and the song itself reflects that kind of, kind of the eerie mood of it all and that kind of thing. But as I was saying in the video, could this have been left off the record? Sure, but you got to put something on there. And it's interesting to hear him play with other musical forms and stuff like that. Like you said, it is an age when you could just fuck around for a song or two on a record. And I like that. I'm glad that this song exists, don't get me wrong, but it's just not, like, this isn't what you're going to come away from being like, man, have you guys heard Nightboat? I mean, I know, like, yeah. If there's something I should know, it's pretty good. Yeah. But Have you heard Nightboat? I mean,
It's
really listen.
it's the alien did from it's the aliens did from History Channel, Nightboat. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It yeah, it's like if somebody told you that like their favorite Stone song was Far Away Eyes.
Yeah,
you know,
like,
where you're like, what?
There are weird people out there that just don't get bands. Like they think they get the band, like that you really like, and then they mention a song and you're like, that is like universally recognized as the worst fucking song they ever did. Get out of my sight. like, you know what I mean? We hear them like see just silly shit.
Right.
Like, you know, this was their best one. You're like, no.
Look,
no.
Hey Jude is good, but have you heard Why Don't We Do It in the Road?
Oh man, we must find these people and stop them from listening to music,
or just make it more of them. You know, like let's engage in a voluntary castration program for people who think Nightboat is the best song off.
You play the song for them. If you see their head bopping, the balls come a lopping. So
right, the proper reaction to the Nightboat is I should watch Beetlejuice.
Is it like the proper description for the song Nightboat should be? Well, that was interesting. Like,
all right. So, but I wanted to mention the video. I mentioned it before, but I didn't want to spoil this because I want to see your reaction. The video for this, again, it's a Russell Mulcahy joint, and it's kind of him doing a riff on Fulci's Zombie, where it's like zombies on a Caribbean island thing. Yeah, it's really interesting.
81 as well. So yeah, you're literally talking 2 years removed.
Yeah. And it's
How
totally.
Did you see it though? It was a video nasty, Bo.
I don't know, but apparently
I don't think it was officially banned at that point. I think it was doing the underground circuit, if you know what I mean. No more. It was doing the night. It was doing the Nightboat, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I do know what you mean. So when I went to camp, I got Nightboated. The next song on the record is Sound of Thunder.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. No, that's different.
No,
song.
That's I've come to talk to thunder again. Let us listen to Sound of Thunder, and I will have information about that in a moment. On the count of 3. 3, 2, 1. Thunder me.
Yep. Some players getting all his way now. It's like every single fucking song now.
Like on the back 9 of this, it is all. Goodness. Sound of Thunder. I woke last night, Duncan, to the sound of thunder. Is that Duran Duran? I sat and wondered. Oh yeah. Oh, I'll use a Bob Seger line. I ain't afraid of it.
You motherfucker.
You don't like the Siegs? You saying something about the Siegs?
Come at me, bro.
Yeah. Fire Lake's a great goddamn song. Anyway, Sound of Thunder, on the other hand. So here's what this song is about. Because we didn't, we were kind of jibber jawing and didn't really talk about the lyrics too much. But
we were doing kind of what the synth player was doing, which is just going all over the top.
Just free balling, baby. Just letting it hang out.
Free balling.
I'm gonna drop trowel there on Mulholland. I'm gonna show my cock to this guy. Gonna free ball. It's all right. Enough of that.
Free balling. Anyway, right.
And I'm free. Anyway, so the Sound of Thunder is actually a reference to the story Sound of Thunder. And it's about a guy. There's a line in the song about stepping off the path and touching the wrong thing. And the Sound of Thunder in the song is it's a guy waiting for the missiles to hit because he has accidentally started World War III because of the thing he did, because of the Sound of Thunder thing.
Yes.
So that's what the song's about, Duncan.
It comes through. It comes through loud.
With the synth. Like, it's all in the synth.
The problem is, like, there's just a bit too much of it. Like I said to Bo during the video, that's my back. Like, I'm a synth player. Like, I fronted a band where I did, like, I sang, but my main, I always consider myself a keyboard player, a synth player. So that's my main thing. And any chance to get a synth in a song, I'm there. But it's a very delicate instrument that needs to be used wisely. Otherwise, it can overpower everything else everyone's doing, which is kind of what happens here. You can hear what the bass is doing, but while you're listening to that really cool funky bass, you've got diddly-dee, diddly-dee. You're like, what the fuck is going on? He's just, and there's too many effects, and like, from a expressionistic point of view, that I'm assuming that's supposed to indicate panic and the bombs coming and all the rest, but it's just, that's not the instrument that should be doing that. That's what the electric guitar should be doing, and the electric guitar isn't doing much on that track. So it feels like, I mean, once again, it's them showing what they can do.
Right, and it's definitely dicking around. This, like, again, this is the back nine of their first record. Where they're just kind of playing around and being experimental. And also worth pointing out, like, no, they don't have their fancy pants producer that they're going to have on the next record. Mm-hmm. And also, it's the first collaboration between Simon Le Bon and the other members of Duran Duran who existed as a band before. And it's really, you can kind of hear them feeling each other out a little bit, you know? And so a lot of the, you know, for as much as we filleted the front end of this record, something like Sound of Thunder is interesting in the catalog. I don't know that I'm a big fan.
Feels like a real passion piece, Bo. I don't know about you.
Yeah, it's something that critics called interesting. Speaking of interesting, Duncan, let's turn our attention to the penultimate song of the first record, a song entitled Friends of Mine. Duncan, you know, it's good to listen to Friends of Mine with friends of mine. Aww. All right, 3, 2, 1, friend it up.
So no one told you life was gonna be that way.
So, that is our penultimate track, Friends of Mine, on Duran Duran. As we were saying during the course of the song, which was about 27 minutes long.
Is it the longest one on the album?
No, Tel Aviv. The last one. Oh, it is the longest. I'm sorry. Tel Aviv.
It's the longest song on the album, yeah. Tel Aviv just is deceptively long.
Yeah, Tel Aviv is something that we're gonna have fun talking during.
We're gonna have to listen to as well.
Yeah, but we're coming to it. But Friends of Mine, like it's got that that shitty synth open where you're like, all right, how long are you gonna hold this note?
Yep, 3 minutes.
Yeah. What? Hold.
There's also, like, once again, having been in bands and stuff, there's nothing worse than someone does something at the start of a song and then they go a bit long and then the band you get a bit panicky as if you missed your cue.
Right.
And then everyone turns around to face the guy who's like, kind of like, oh, aye, that's right, I'm starting the song. All right, sorry. Right, I'm nodgies now. It's like you forget your cue really easy. And that's what it kind of feels like there. So much so that once... I think we said it both there, like, once it gets through its, like, second chorus, and starts, like, really feeling itself out, that's when the track becomes really interesting. But the first two verses and choruses are, like, a bit rough.
It's a little dodgy, but the hook in the chorus is good. Yep. It gets a little more freewheeling, especially with that bass and guitar as the song goes. And by the back end of the song, I'm totally on board with Friends of Mine.
Oh, yeah. Guitars having a little solo fun, bass players having a ball, drums are like electrified and sounding great. Even the synth player is now just playing chords to accentuate the melody, which is fine. And even the chorus is a fun chorus. It's not the most memorable chorus by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a fun sounding chorus.
Yeah.
So yes, a track that has more. It is. It is the mullet of Duran Duran songs in that at the beginning of the song it was all business and by the end it was party in the backbone.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, it was all business up front. Yeah, it's a good track, and much like as spending time with friends of mine, when I first get there, I'm like, I don't know, this was such a good idea, and then by the end, I'm having fun.
Yeah, a couple of beers, and then these guys are okay. But when you first meet them, it's like this. This is why I've not seen these guys in a couple of years.
Yeah, what's going on with this Georgie motherfucker again? He's okay. He's okay. Okay, good. He's okay. All right, Duncan, let's bring it home. Of this surprisingly long episode, with the final track, Tel Aviv. Let's begin on the count of 3. 3, 2, 1, instrumental. So, speaking of going and fucking ourselves, that is Tel Aviv.
Yes.
The final track on Duran Duran. For those of you who did not hear the discussion going on during the 5+ minutes of that instrumental, it's best summed up by saying, it feels right that they put this at the end. Yeah,
it's one of those moments like you shove at the end of an album because you can. They went through the experience all the way up to that point now, and this one, I mean, all that stuff was for you. This track, ladies and gents, are for us.
Yeah, this is one that we can be proud of,
Yes.
This is what we're going to be remembered for. This is the 7 on the album where we're not remembered for it, but we're going to be proud of it. So a couple of interesting things about Tel Aviv is they actually do perform this in concert occasionally. And
instrumentals play usually quite well. It gives the singer an opportunity to fuck off stage, which, trust me, all singers like to do.
Yeah, it gets more cocaine and a blowjob before hitting the
you come back on for the encore.
Right.
It's usually a good way to segue between things. You have a little instrumental. That's why you get like drum solos and rock concerts are good. Like everyone gets their moment. This is the point here where the band get their moment, minus LeBon, who is the focal point for most of, like, a frontman is a frontman. That's what people pay attention to. They follow his instructions, they sing along with him. When he's off the stage, you've got the band. So
yeah,
wasn't surprised.
We both agree it's kind of fine.
Yeah,
it's an interesting way to end the record, and I think that your point of the front or the first side of this album, like, again, going back in time when this was on vinyl, and you flipped over the record, and the first side of this record is all the pop jams. The second side of this record is where they're like, hey, how about you smoke a bowl and you just chill with us for a little while?
Have you tried acid?
You're right. How do you feel about drugs?
Yeah, it's just it's a little bit off the beaten track. It's a bit off piste. It has a kind of we've said it before. It has a kind of proggy feel to it, which is fine. But a lot of this will be beaten out of the band by the time they release their next album. A lot of this shit's not going to happen again. It's not going to resurface. There are elements for sure, but to be as kind of essentially going from a Nightboat to a Sound of Thunder to a Tel Aviv, you ain't going to be getting that. There'll be pop songs and bangers in there in place. So,
yeah. So, but I really enjoy doing this. This was a lot of fun because I love Duran Duran, and it's an excuse to hang out and talk to you about Duran Duran, which is never a bad thing. But also because it I think actually forcing yourself to sort of take stock of a record like this, song by song, kind of creates a weird intimacy with the records that I really like, where it's like, after doing this show, there will never be a time I don't think of doing this show when I think of, is there something I should know?
I've got a weird, there's a weird thing about me as well. Like, I've always been, I don't like listening to songs in isolation. It's one of the reasons I don't like listening to radio. Like, I'm very much an album person. So if I go to listen to a song, I'll listen to the entire album. And I sometimes feel that like with bands like Duran Duran, it's very easy just to shove on the greatest hits and listen to all the greatest hits and get all your songs. But to get the personality of the band, you have to listen to the whole albums. And even starting from here, this is such a departure from what they will sound like in the coming albums.
Yeah.
But all the building blocks are there. It's just they need some money, they need a good producer, need some time to craft some better songs, and they need to have a little bit of success, which they do off the back of this, which is like, oh, well, this song's really... Girls on Film, really successful song. You know what we need to do? We need to write more songs like Girls on Film. So, and that's what they do. And that you find that, like the band then tailor their sound to their fans as opposed to being the other way around. So yeah, you have to kind of go through that experience. So it's been, I purposely didn't listen to this before, and it's been years since I listened to this album. So I purposely didn't listen to this before we recorded tonight. I'm so glad that we did, because there were moments there, specifically on the Nightboat, where I'm like that. I can't remember this being like this.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I listened to it a bunch recently.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because it feels like no other band could have put this out but Duran Duran, but it also doesn't really feel like Duran Duran.
It doesn't, because the Duran Duran that most people know are about to hit.
Yeah, and we have but one season of Slasher between us and the next time we talk about a Duran Duran record.
We have 16 weeks until we'll be back to talk about Duran Duran, but it will be worth it, ladies and gents.
But their second record is Seven and the Ragged Tiger.
I know. Oh yeah, like the next. Yeah, trust me, we're coming out swinging.
Yeah, it like, you know, again, listening to If There's Something I Should Know, over and over again recently, which I did. That song fucking rules. If there's no other...
In the UK, that was on Seven and the Ragged Tiger. So like you guys got on that album, but it wasn't officially released. Probably what released as a single is the run-up to Seven and the Ragged Tiger. But that's on this album over here. So, yeah, it's bitching. So.
That's a great song. And there's more of that to come. And also, in 2 weeks' time, we'll be back to begin Slasher Season 2.
Save our souls.
But we don't know. Like, I haven't watched this yet, so I don't know if it's better or worse.
It's worse.
I've heard that too, and I can't imagine. That doesn't sound right.
Like at the end of Slasher Season 1, I didn't know there was a level below that. And I think we'll find there is.
At the end of Season 2, Episode 1, Duncan grabs his shoulder. Ah!
Can you imagine being in a position where you get like a couple episodes into Season 2 and you pine for Season 1? That could be us. We could remember the old days of bad Irish accents and condom wearing killers. We could go back there. I'm just hoping for as many unresolved plots and throwaway characters as possible. That's all I want.
Right. As long as we get the equivalent of like a Brenda and a Chief Brimley, we just need. That's all we need to get by as a show.
A lawyer pirate came in for all of 30 seconds in that show and stole my heart, Bo. He stole my fucking heart.
I don't know if you listened to it, but that naturally was the opening tag on the audio version of the episode. I assure you, I'm a lawyer.
Yeah.
I'm not a cat.
I'm not a cat, George. I'm not a cat.
I'm a human man who's gone to law school and is not a cat.
Yeah.
So anyway, thanks for hanging out for this special episode of Duncan and Bo Come Correct. Duncan, anything that you would like to add before we wrap her up here?
Just check out Opera Omnia. It's just launched a brand new episode featuring myself and the fantastic Bo Ransdell. We're continuing our jaunt through the David Fincher back catalogue, making a stop at movie number 4, a little movie called Fight Club. And that was a ton of fun to discuss. It's a really, really good episode. So it's available now. You can listen to all my stuff under tputscast, tputscast.com. You find all the shows there. Podcast Under the Stairs, Opera Omnia, Down the Nasty, Chronicle, Where to Begin With, and Jaws is Shite and Other Regrettable Outbursts.
I can't make fun of you for the number of shows you do.
I mean, you can.
I can, but it's a bit hypocritical. So you can find me at Pick Six Movies, Duncan and Bo Come Correct, Hero Go Show.
And you run the entire network. You run an entire network.
And and the legionpodcast.com network, we've been trying to kind of make more out of the Patreon offerings, not just because this being on Patreon, if that's where you're watching it, is just to avoid copyright problems. That is not we are not trying to seduce you into the Patreon or nothing. But some of the video stuff we're doing is fun, and also there's going to be a Patreon exclusive review show with Court and Ricky doing a monthly like jibberjaw about a movie. Mm-hmm. So that sounds real dumb, and when I say real dumb, I mean that in the best possible way. So anyway, but yeah, so you can check out all that stuff for me, and as always, there is nothing left in the show for me to do but to say good night, Duncan.
Good night, Duncan.
Nightboat. Oh.
Good night, boat.
Oh, that's so dumb. All right.